promised, we do have Congressman Jim Renacci on the line. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Ron. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I know you're probably fresh from your travels down in Charlotte, attending the Democratic National Convention.
No, I'm actually fresh, though, from my travels in the 16th District, and I'm actually sitting in a manufacturing facility as we speak. I just spoke with many of the employees here, just talked about issues, and that's how I learned. That's how I continue to understand what the concerns are of this district.
Well, Congressman, when you go out on location in your district to places like that, what is it you tell them, and what is it that you hear from them?
Well, I was at a location this morning, too. I talked to a number of people. I basically introduced myself to them, especially in the new parts of the district, and then I just asked them, okay, you now have a congressman who wants to listen. Let me hear your concerns. And it's amazing what you hear, because you still hear the same things, and it's the same concerns that we had 2 years ago. I mean, I just left a meeting where they're concerned about health care. They're concerned about the president's health care plan. They don't think it's working. Now, again, I know people say, they'll get on your program and say, you know, it's working, we're happy, but there is a group of people, and again, in this district, it's about 57% that aren't happy. Now, there are some that say, how about pre-existing conditions? They ask about that, and, you know, they ask about those issues. They're concerned about over-regulations, especially in this manufacturing plant. And they're just concerned about the spending and the debt. I mean, debt was a big issue this morning.
Of course, we're talking with Congressman Jim Renacci. Speaking of the debt, speaking of the budget, Congressman, some of the articles that I've been reading lately say that Republicans, especially first-term congresspersons, seem to be running away from the Paul Ryan budget because of the what they consider some pretty drastic changes in that budget. Do you run away from that budget? What are the parts of the Paul Ryan budget that you feel you could really embrace, and which parts do you think you have problems with?
Well, first off, Ron, anybody that puts a budget up, you could have positives and negatives about all of it. What I said, at least it's a plan. And I think you and I talked about this once before. It's a plan, and when you put a plan down, you lay it down, and then you start to implement parts of it. And then you change, and then you back off, and you add, and you subtract, and that's the way it works in the real world, whether it's a family budget or whether it's a business. And I think what we have in the Ryan plan, of the House budget that was passed, is a plan that starts to reduce our debt, starts to cut spending, and actually balances the budget, and it gets it done. Now, some people say, I want to get it done quicker, and there are people in the House, or Republicans in the House, that want to get it done quicker. Quite frankly, I think we got to do it the right way, and I think we got to do it. We didn't get into this mess in a year. We're not going to fix it in a year. The Ryan House budget does fix things. It takes, you know, anywhere from 12 to 22 years, depending on the economy, and a lot of that is because
it takes that long, according to his budget, to balance the budget,
and cut the deficit and the debt. Yes, because a lot of it is because anyone with Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, there are no changes for people 55 and older, and I think that's until we start looking at those entitlements, which we have to. The president has said it. Members of the other side have said it. Until we start looking at those things, which will be 10 years from now, any change you make to them isn't affected for 10 years. You know, it takes 10 years to really start to make a change in this budget deficit.
Well, in that budget, and I'm a little confused because I hear people complain about it, and I also hear people support it on the 55 and older, 55 and younger changes that the budget proposes. Do those people in that age group, when they turn 65, will they be paying more for their health insurance? I know the Democrats are saying those seniors, when they get to that age, are going to be paying about $6,500 more a year for the same amount of free health care they get through Medicare right now. What's the real answer to that, Congressman?
Well, the real answer is that those people that turn that age and get a Medicare, they'll be able to take the current Medicare plan
as it is right now,
or see if they can get a private insurer to do better. They will get premium support from the federal government, and those that don't have the money to pay, that plan will allow the government will take care of them. But those millionaires and billionaires, I know the other side likes to talk about them, those that don't need as much, they won't get as much. So the average will be 6,500. When people, and that's a number that could be less, more. They talk about it. It's a statistical number. But here's what's amazing. You know, the people who want to talk about it always say it's $6,500 for everybody. That's not true. It's the average. And those that can pay more will pay more. But the people who need it, you know, those people in the safety net will not have to pay anything. And I think that's what people have to understand, because there'll be means testing, and it's the right way of making sure the system goes further into the future. My dad, who worked his whole life in a blue-collar union job and then worked his way up, became a manager, he'll even tell you today, you know what, Jim, if you look at all I get, I could probably be to pay a little bit. I always say to him, it's important that everybody's looked at and there's means testing. So that's the way that works.
And I'm just slightly I'm almost as confused there, because I still don't know. You said that people will be able to continue to have the same kind of coverage right now if they choose to do that. The 55-year-olds and younger right now.
And that's the plan. That's the plan that was revised by Congressman Ryan and Senator Wyden, and that's what they did. They said that Medicare will still stay intact. The program will still stay intact. And
but you'll have the option, though, of going into the voucher system, right?
No, you'll have the option of having an outside independent insurance company if you think that's better.
Okay, but the decision rests with the person.
Right, and that'll be up to the individual, and that will bring competition into the marketplace and bring costs down.
Okay, we're talking with Congressman Jim Renacci. His opponent is Congresswoman Betty Sutton. She's been a guest before. Jim's been a guest before. We hope to have them both on at least one, maybe twice again before the actual election. Congressman, Grover Norquist's anti-tax pledge. I've been hearing criticisms from the Democrats leveled toward Republicans that if you're going to have a realistic budget, you just can't have cuts. You have to have some sort of way to actually raise income, enhance income, if you will. They claim that, and you did sign that tax pledge, correct?
I did.
They're saying that those of you who signed that tax pledge have removed a valuable bargaining tool from the table. That how can you bargain in good faith, knowing that you refuse to bargain about any kind of tax increases? How do you answer that?
Well, Ron, we don't have a revenue problem in Washington. We have a spending problem. I say it all the time. We shouldn't be raising taxes. We should be doing comprehensive tax reform. You do not have to raise taxes to get additional revenue. You can eliminate loopholes. You know, why can't we talk about restructuring the tax, eliminating loopholes, and at the same time, there will be people that pay more because you've eliminated a loophole. At the time when globally the tax rates are already higher, you know, worldwide, the corporate tax rate in our country is 35%. The next highest corporate tax rate is 25%. Now somebody would say, well, that's corporate tax rates. Yes, but you got to remember that 70% of our businesses pay taxes on an individual basis because they are S corps or LLCs. So they then would have to pay a high tax rate, and if they're competing globally, which we are, we have to compete globally, we have to have a competitive tax rate. But we can do that. We can even increase revenues to the federal government by eliminating loopholes. You don't have to increase tax rates.
Well, according to Grover Norquist, if you do that, and in any instance, if a revision of the tax rates or the tax policy changes and it results in tax increases, he's opposed to that.
Well, again, what Grover Norquist says and what Jim Renacci says, I agree with Grover Norquist that we don't have to raise tax rates. But I do think we have to look at the system and we have to be able to judge the system and eliminate loopholes and do a tax reform.
So if Grover Norquist said, no, Jim, that's raising a tax, and you pledge not to do that, and you feel that it's not raising taxes, or and you would do it anyway. You would.
Well, yeah, I pledge that we do not need to raise tax rates. I do think we need to have comprehensive tax reform. Look, raising tax rates will only do more to hurt job creators. We had job numbers came out today. We saw 96,000.
I got your press release on that.
Payroll job. I mean, they were expecting 125,000. We need 200,000 a month just to try and reduce the unemployment rate. We only got 96,000 new jobs. Manufacturing jobs were down 15,000. Labor force participation rate fell to 63.5%, the lowest since September of 1981. Ron, these are the things we have to start working on, and raising tax rates is not going to, it's not. I mean, I'm a businessman. I'm in the community. I'm talking to people who say, if you raise my tax rates, I can't employ more people.
Okay, we're talking to Congressman Jim Renacci. Congressman, we have to take a quick break, but there's a couple of more questions I'd like to ask you. One will be on the General Motors situation. The president is bragging that he and his administration actually saved General Motors and Chrysler. I'd like to get your take on that after these messages. You listeners, don't go away. We'll be right back. We've got Congressman Jim Renacci on the line. We do have Congressman Jim Renacci on the phone. And Congressman, there's been a lot of political bantering back and forth about the Obama administration's bailing out, and I use that word in quotations, General Motors and Chrysler. The president's claiming that it really saved the auto industry, not just here in Ohio, but nationwide. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one thing I can tell you, Ron, we can talk about what we think saved it, but one thing for certain, it cost us a lot of jobs. It cost my dealership 52 jobs. There was 1,500 to 3,000 dealerships across the board that were lost in that bankruptcy. Hundreds of thousands of jobs lost, and we need to, that's a fact. So we can talk about, yeah, we saved, but the only factual information is we lost a lot of jobs, and that cost us a lot of jobs. And, you know, there's an article out that says General Motors is headed for bankruptcy again. This isn't me speaking. This is an article in Forbes magazine. It talks about where General Motors is heading now after this bailout. It talks about the market share going from 48% down to less than 20%, 18% right now. So is General Motors really safe right now? Well, I guess the answer, and I always tell people, and as you probably know, I was a businessman. I was hired sometimes to go in and turn some bad situations around. Just because you pump money in.
Was that at Bain Capital?
No. I was hired by trustees to go in and turn things around.
I know, but I couldn't help myself.
I know. But what I found is sometimes you would get money pumped in, and 3, 4, 5, 6 years later, it was gone again. My concern is I'm not sure that the bailout really saved General Motors yet. Time will tell, but one thing for sure, it did cost hundreds of thousands of jobs, including probably 100 to 150 in Wadsworth, Ohio, where I live, and 50 plus of those were in my dealership.
Yeah, I can feel you on that, but at the same time, I had other friends in other dealerships, and before that, the major dealerships were complaining that there were too many dealerships, and they were beginning to remove a lot of them anyway. So it's hard to tell what impact that had and what it didn't have. My final question for you, Congressman, is are we going to see a debate between you and your opponent, Congresswoman Betty Sutton, here in Stark County?
Ron, that is a great question, and I can tell you, we have been contacted. This is the way it normally works. We have been contacted by 4 independent groups that have asked us if we would do a debate. One of them was the Cleveland City Club. The other was the Worcester Chamber. The third was the Camp Repository, and the fourth was the Akron Bliss Center. Those are the only 4 people that have talked to us. We've agreed to 3. The only reason we did not agree to the Akron Bliss is because we didn't believe in either location they could do it at. It was in the district. But we are committed to doing the one in Cleveland at the City Club. We want to do the one at the Worcester Chamber, which John Bocherry and I did 2 years ago, and John Bocherry and Kurt Schuring did 2 years before that. And we're committed to doing the one with the Camp Repository right there in the district. Those are 2 in our district. Now, I will tell you. So
you are committed to the one, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Repository and WHBC jointly suggested that.
Yeah, but we've been committed to that one, and we were asked again within the last couple of weeks, and we said yes. So we are ready to go. That's 3 out of 4. I will tell you this. My opponent, we finally, because we've tried to communicate with my opponent, I've even personally reached out. We've sent letters out. You might have seen those.
Yes.
We finally got a meeting between my opponent's staff member and, of course, my campaign manager this morning, and she has flatly rejected all these.
No.
That is the word I just got, except for the Cleveland City Club.
So right now, based on a meeting that you had this morning, that Congresswoman Betty Sutton's office has declined to debate here in Stark County?
Yep, I just got notice today that my staff just left the meeting, and the information I got was that they have declined the four. Now remember, there's only 4 organizations that have contacted us. They have declined flatly, every one of them except out of these 4, the Cleveland City Club. So Ron, you know what? The debate, if nothing else, you were part, I think, of the debate 2 years. I know you were part of the debate. It was a good debate. It was very unbiased. It was nonpartisan. I'd love to come back down in the Canton and do it again. But
well, I'm going to be talking with Anthony from Congresswoman Betty Sutton's campaign staff. I want to ask them personally and get an answer from them directly on why in this morning's meeting they declined to debate in Stark County. I think, as do a lot of other Stark Countyans, think that we deserve a debate between our congressional representatives in this district. And I'd like to hear directly from those of you. I heard directly from you, Congressman. I need to hear directly from Congresswoman Betty Sutton why she doesn't want to vote. If that's the case, why she does not want to debate in Stark County.
Well, again, we met this morning, and I appreciate them finally getting back to us, because we were just prepared to send another letter out, and then finally, I think she has a new member on her staff. I don't believe her campaign manager is the same, so he did get back to us. And there was a meeting this morning, and my campaign manager just alerted me that they have flatly refused.
Wow.
All except for the Cleveland City Club.
Well, I'll call her right after I get off the air. I'll let you and your campaign know, and you listeners out there, I'll let you know where this debate stands, because I am getting emails and phone calls every day requesting it, so I'll let everybody know. Congressman Jim Renacci, we appreciate your time this morning. We'd like to have you back on before the election once or twice again. Of course, you know the campaign rules kick in Monday, that if we have you, we have to have your opponent on and give equal time, and we have no problem with that.
I understand. I look forward to it, Ron. Like I said, I look forward to, hopefully, maybe you can get us a debate there in Canton, because I'd be more than willing. As I said, we have to do debates in the district.
Yes.
That is important.
Yes.
And people have to call us and ask us. These are the only 4 organizations. We've said yes to all 3 out of the 4.
Okay, I'll let you know. Appreciate your call this morning. Tell James Slepian and the rest of the campaign we said hi.
We'll do that.
Tom King, too. He used to work here.
Oh, Tom's a good man.
Yeah, he is a good man. Good guy. Appreciate it, Congressman.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.